Welcome back. Now it's time for ANC cadres deployed in government to ensure policies adopted are implemented. That's according to the ruling party's head of policy, Jeff Radebe. He was leading discussions earlier on the party's policy documents to pave way for its upcoming policy conference set for the end of July. It's an opportunity for the governing party to reflect on how far it's come in implementing existing policies. And our reporter, Buleli Jones, was monitoring those discussions at Luthuli House today. He joins us now in studio. Buleli, just tell me exactly what this briefing was about.
Well, all eyes are set on this policy conference that's going to be taking place at the end of July. And what we do understand is that it primarily focuses around 4 sectors which I've managed to pick up ever since, because the document was released today. It speaks about the SOEs, state-owned enterprises, the rebuilding of the economy, most importantly, but also at the core of this, fighting corruption, which is a message the ANC has been preaching for a very long time. But as you look at the State of the Nation address, which was delivered by the President this year, and you compare it to this policy document that's been released, it speaks more about the inclusivity of private sectors and the rebuilding of the economy, how they will come in, and how the issue of wages will also be addressed in terms of doing away with exploitation, but most importantly, giving to local businesses which may have jobs which will be created, speaking to a job creation as well. That's within this document I've read so far, and the ANC is quite confident, Masejo, that they can implement what's in this document, and they believe that this is a driving wheel for the party to actually stir in the right direction. Before we go to the economy part, I just want you to, I want you to listen to the parts about the implementation and why it's important for this policy conference to be held.
Those that are deployed in government, they need to do more to ensure that all the policy proposals, when they have been adopted by the National Conference in December of 2022, they leave no stone unturned in ensuring that the implementation is done. And that is also dependent on the caliber of those that are deployed, who must have the requisite skills and the competence in order to rise to the challenges that our country is facing. On renewal, it is very important that we should emphasize this, that we need to have a combination of competence and also to ensure that those that we deployed are qualified to do their jobs. If you recall, towards the local government elections in November 2021, we started a new process as the ANC to get to the qualifications of our candidates. It's not yet a perfect solution, but we are moving in the right direction.
So looking at how our economy is performing or underperforming actually since COVID-19, was this part of their discussions?
Yes. Well, they speak about, the rebuilding and fixing state-owned enterprises, right, which will entice investor confidence. We do know there's been a lot of challenges around our SOEs in the country, looking at ESCOM and the continuous blackouts, the controversy around SAA. So these are the kind of things that they believe will build the economy. However, they're not saying how they're going to achieve all of these objectives, which is a challenge, it creates confusion, more confusion, and that's what we try to get answers from the head of policy, Jeff Radebe. But they're quite confident that as it is right now, corruption in businesses is something that they will be dealing with in terms of having transparency to ensure that there can be cash flow which can contribute to the economy. And these are some of the things that the ANC is still yet to actually present to the branches to say, how are they going to eradicate this corruption? How are they going to create jobs? Unemployment is sitting at a very high rate, but how are they going to achieve all of this? And this is what Jeff Radebe had to say.
What to do about the economy? I think that is the burning issue. If we can't resolve the issue of the economy, our countries will be in dire strait. You'll recall that in our conference in Mangaung in 2012, we made our broad policy approach on the economy very clear, that since 1994, as the ANC and its government, we've succeeded in consolidating all institutions of constitutional democracy. But insofar as the economy is concerned, we still lag behind, especially in the empowerment of the previously disadvantaged individuals. So going forward, we have now entered this new phase of our transition to ensure that the commanding heights of our economy must also represent the downtrodden people of our country. The series of reforms, economic reforms that our government is implementing is aimed precisely at achieving those goals.
So it's obviously important for us to follow the ANC's policy conference, etc., because they are the governing party and essentially it affects us as South Africans. But just explain to me in terms of the process that goes into it, why every 5 years and why it's important that they renew it. And also, Pule, did he say anything about the debate around the step aside? You said they want to fight corruption. That policy was put there to fight corruption, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Definitely. So the reason for this is to make sure that the ANC can revisit its policies to see if they've been practicing what they've preached previously, of course, in their previous documentation. For example, I'll give you one example. Land reform was one policy adopted at the 54th conference in Nasrec as well, to say that they will look into it, they'll take a proactive approach into land reform, but it's been watered down as the years have been approaching to say, people can now donate their land. There was also an issue around a willing buyer, willing seller, which was quite controversial as well. So those are the kind of things that the ANC has to be guided by, these policies. But at the very same time, there's been a negative approach to how the party has ensured that they implement some of these policies. And this is an organization that's going into this conference without a Secretary General as well. Ma'am Jessie Duarte, who's a DSG Deputy Secretary General, has been quite ill as well. The chairperson is facing allegations of corruption, state capture as well. So you can just see that the party is on its knees, and there's sort of like a leadership crisis that's going on. And hopefully, with this policy conference, all these issues can be addressed to ensure that it's not the same similar rhetoric that's been mentioned before. With the issue of step aside, this is something that still has to be taken to the branches as well. We've seen how it's been amended throughout the last couple of months as well. So it clearly indicates that it's a problem and it's a policy that's been giving the party a headache for the past couple of months.
So this year is going to be very interesting for the ANC. Lily Treaty Jones, thank you very much for that report. Now,